All right, let's talk about cuckolding. For, like, ever, the whole conversation has been about one thing, what the guy wants. But that's not even half the story, right? So today, we're going to flip the script. We're going to get into what women actually think, what they desire, and what they go through in this, well, this really complex world. So, Sarah, 16 years of marriage, and then she says, I think I want to try this. Just think about that for a second. That one sentence. It's not just a whim. It represents this incredible journey, right? It's the end result of months, maybe even years, of her debating this internally, wrestling with fear and curiosity. And that is where the real story starts. Not with his fantasy, but with her decision.
And look, you might think this is some super niche thing, but it's really not. The numbers are kind of staggering. Research shows that about 1 in 3 American women, that's 33%, have fantasized about their partner being with someone else. So yeah, this isn't some fringe idea at all. It's a huge widespread curiosity that's just kind of bubbling under the surface for a lot of people.
So yeah, the conversation might start with the guy's fantasy, but what's actually happening is this massive shift. It's a total sea change. This is all about female desire finally taking center stage. Women are going from just being participants in someone else's fantasy to becoming the architects of their very own sexual exploration.
And you can see this shift happening in real time. I mean, look at this. Back in 2008, a psychologist, Dr. David Ley, found that this whole thing was almost exclusively initiated by men. Now, fast forward to today, and that dynamic has been totally flipped on its head. Women aren't just going along with it anymore, they're the ones initiating. They're seeking out partners who are already into this from the get-go.
And this really gets to the heart of it. This isn't just about who brings it up first. What we're seeing is a fundamental reimagining of what female sexuality even is. It's about moving away from this old-fashioned script where it's something to be guarded and controlled, and moving toward a new one where it's something to be explored and even celebrated.
Okay, so what is actually going through a woman's head when this conversation happens? Let's dive deep into that psychological landscape, because trust me, it is way more complex than the simple stories we usually hear. Just put yourself in this situation for a second. Imagine your partner, the person you love and trust, turns to you and asks if you'd ever think about being with another person. For most women, that question doesn't just land. It's not one single reaction. It's a full-blown storm.
And I mean, in a matter of seconds, her mind is just racing with all these conflicting thoughts. There's panic. Is he testing me? Am I not enough? Then confusion. Wait, aren't you supposed to be jealous? But then maybe a little bit of intrigue, like, that's kind of hot. And right behind that comes the shame. Good wives don't want this. And finally, the cold calculation. Is this going to destroy us? It all hits at once. It's like an emotional bomb, where every single reaction feels like the wrong one.
In that moment right there, often kicks off this long, drawn-out internal war. You've got these two voices battling it out. On one side, there's the voice of real, genuine desire. I want to feel desired by more than one person. I want to explore this part of myself. But then, on the other side, you have this lifetime of social conditioning screaming back. That makes you a slut. If you act on this, you will destroy everything.
So let's say a woman manages to navigate that internal war. What is it that actually pulls her in? Well, it's almost never just about the sex. It's so much deeper. It's about the intoxicating feeling of being the absolute center of desire. It's about breaking free from that suffocating good girl script we're all taught. It's the thrill of breaking the rules, but doing it consensually. For a lot of women, it's also a way to reclaim their sexuality after life. Motherhood, careers, just getting older has kind of pushed it to the back burner. And then there's this really fascinating idea called compersion.
So what is compersion? Basically, it's the polar opposite of jealousy. It's that feeling of genuine, actual pleasure you get from seeing your partner happy and joyful with someone else. I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive, right? But brain scans actually show it's a real thing. It lights up the reward centers in your brain. For this whole dynamic to work for a lot of couples, compersion is absolutely a key ingredient.
Okay, let's talk about the Hotwife experience, because it's a total paradox. On the one hand, there's this incredible sense of power. You're the one choosing partners, setting the rules, experiencing desire completely on your terms. But then, on the other hand, there's this crushing pressure. The pressure to always be enthusiastic, to manage not just your own emotions, but everyone else's, and to embody this perfect fantasy. It's a huge amount of emotional labor that often goes completely unseen.
And then you have the flip side, the Cuckquean. This is the woman who gets turned on by watching her partner with other women. And this quote, wow, it just nails it. It's this rush of voyeuristic pleasure and pride all mixed together. It's confusing and contradictory and incredibly hot.
It just completely defies everything we've ever been taught about how women are supposed to be jealous and competitive with each other.
Okay, so we've been inside her head. Now let's talk about the reality on the ground. Because, let's be honest, the lifestyle blogs and forums, they can paint a very rosy, sanitized picture. The truth? It is way, way messier, and it takes an unbelievable amount of work to navigate it without things blowing up.
The community actually has a name for this constant, complicated emotional state, cuck angst. And it's the perfect description. It's this feeling of constantly walking on a razor's edge. On one side, you have that good jealousy, the kind that's arousing and fuels the whole fantasy. But on the other side, you have that bad jealousy, the corrosive, toxic kind that can absolutely destroy a relationship. And learning to tell the difference between the two, that's probably the most critical skill of all.
So how do you even begin to manage that angst? Well, it all comes down to a communication protocol that is 100% non-negotiable. And I'm not just talking about, hey, let's talk about our feelings. No, this is a serious, structured, three-step process. First, before anything happens, we're talking dozens of hours of discussion, fears, boundaries, worst-case scenarios. Second, during the experience, there are real-time check-ins and the absolute right for anyone to pull the plug at any moment. And third, after, there's a mandatory in-depth debriefing within 24 hours. This is the work. This is what makes it survivable.
And we have to be real about the challenges here, because they are significant. First, the social stigma is brutal. It often forces women into leading secret double lives. We already talked about the emotional labor, which is just immense and invisible. And the risks, they are very real. If this goes wrong, it can lead to serious trauma or even blow up the relationship entirely. Not to mention the obvious physical risks like STIs and just general safety.
So who's actually into this? The research here is fascinating because it just shatters a lot of stereotypes. You'd think it might be about low self-esteem or certain political views, right? Nope, none of that predicts interest. So what does? Well, a few things. Having a high sexual desire in the first place, just having a positive attitude towards sex in general, and this is the big one, starting from a place of strong, deep security in your primary relationship.
All right, so we've looked at the history, we've gone inside the mind, we've talked about the messy reality. Let's try to pull it all together. When you strip everything else away, what is this really about for the women who choose to live this way?
And this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. For the women who embrace this, it is not about being an accessory. It's not about being a supporting character in his fantasy. It is about agency. It's about finally owning their own desires, setting their own rules, and being the absolute main character in their own sexual story.
And for this experience to be positive and empowering instead of damaging, women say there are 5 pillars that absolutely have to be there. First, agency, being able to explore their desires on their terms. Second, honesty. We're talking radical transparency about everything. Third, respect, for boundaries, for feelings, for the sheer complexity of it all. Fourth, safety, physical, emotional, and relational. And finally, trust, an incredible foundation of trust that, get this, has to be consciously rebuilt after every single encounter.
And when you have all 5 of those pillars in place, well, that's when you get this powerful reframing of the whole thing. Women who are in that space, they say it's not just a fantasy, it's not just a kink, they call it freedom.
And that's really the question to leave you with, isn't it? When we actually stop and look at this whole world through a woman's eyes, what are we really looking at? Is it just a fantasy? Is it a kink? Or is it a profound act of freedom? The answer, as we've seen, is probably as complex and as individual as every woman out there.